leg extensions, and really what I'm doing is I'm destroying my knees.
If you wanted leg extensions, they're an excellent exercise that you can do for variation.
Is Jeff wrong? Let's dig into it a bit more and see. But first, I drove 3 hours to get some leg extension alternatives that are arguably better from someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
This is the closest replica. What you want to do is get your leg on here. If it's too far over, you're too reliant on the hip flexor. So you have your thigh supported and then straight up.
If you don't have a kettlebell, could you use something else?
You could use a dumbbell. That would allow you to go heavier as well. The beauty of this is then you can make it unilateral or bilateral.
You can also use a set of monkey feet, which are considerably cheaper than a leg extension machine. Or you can just use a cable machine like this. The next one looks a little bit weird, so I asked Steve why he likes it.
It's quite a simple exercise to do. It's effective. If you want to make it harder, use a weight vest.
Any coaching tips for plank extensions?
Get your feet on a bench, toes pointing down. Find your position where you're going to get plenty of range of movement. Legs go down and then you extend up. Contract at the top as well, Mike. It's really squeeze at the top.
Steve shared another way to do this by adding resistance bands. Turn your phone to the side, like and subscribe. This would be ideal if you were traveling and you just had some bands available.
What we're trying to do with these alternatives, we're never going to replicate perfectly. We've got to do a good job.
So I'm about to show you the main alternative that I personally use a lot from home, which is ideal for progressive overload and is arguably much better than leg extension. But first, are you always looking for exercise alternatives? With a home gym, I was always doing this as well. That's why we've created a one-stop shop with over 50 exercise alternatives. All of these alternatives target the same part of the muscle group, they use the same movement pattern, and there are options if you have little or no equipment. Get access to this in the first link in the description below. The next two are exercises that you can do without any equipment.
Hands across your chest and go down, and then use your core and your legs to pull yourself back up. Again, quite a simple exercise. You've got to drive through your toes, make sure you engage your quads.
Should you point your toes into the mat or have flat feet?
Whatever works for you. If you have your toes pointing too far up there, you limit your range of movement backwards.
Yeah, that's what I noticed actually there. So that's probably better if you can.
And are there any ways to make this more challenging?
You can have a plate. So if you grab like a 5 kilo plate or a dumbbell, maybe even a kettlebell. The other way to make this more of a challenge is with tempo work. So almost use like a negative, nice and slow backwards, and then drive quickly up.
Remember, we will find out if Jeff is actually wrong, but
You've probably tried this one before.
90-degree bend. I think it's best if you push into the wall with this one because you really engage your quads more.
And whilst it doesn't replicate the extension perfectly, it's great at removing the hip extension, which avoids bringing your hamstrings and glutes into play, unlike most squatting patterns.
Some people can get lazy and they sit too deep.
yeah.
Useless. So I'm going to go up.
Any coaching tips?
Yeah, and drive it into the wall like you're trying to push the wall away.
Oh yeah.
So as promised, here is the exercise where you can add more resistance.
This is a super duty practice. You also need a nice strong rope or band, or in this case, we've got the handles here. TRX will do the job just fine, yeah. Get yourself plenty of tension, quarter squat and walk backwards and really extend the legs through each time. And that's how you do this. Now, with this one, the way to make this exercise work best, go a long distance.
Are there any other ways to perform a similar movement?
Hold on to it and I've got to push backwards, the flexion extension like this.
Which one would you say is better?
Better than the drag. The drag's good, but that's better.
I then asked Steve if there was a way that anyone could do this from a home gym without having to scrape up and down the street and annoying their neighbours. Steve recommended doing some cable walkbacks, focusing on a controlled movement back towards the machine too. And why is this your go-to exercise?
The reason I prefer this one, or this is my go-to, is because it most replicates the extension element. There's a load of website articles out there that just replace the leg extension with random leg exercises. And actually they don't try and replicate the extension element very well.
So anyway, back to the original question. Was Jeff Cavaliere wrong?
Destroying my knees.
Well, to sum up, here is what the research says. Leg extensions are a decent way to train the quads as long as you don't have any previous knee issues. And it's probably not fair to just single out a video that Mr. Cavalier did 10 years ago. So what's your view on them now, Jeff?
Just remember, you can get access to over 50 exercise alternatives in the first link in the description below.
The leg extension, and yes, it's in my better category. Why? Well, by my own criteria, if you're looking for an exercise that can create hypertrophy, specifically in the quads, and is capable of being overloaded, well, it would have to fall here.
But if you want to improve your quad strength and mass, leg extensions are probably not the best exercise to be doing. A leg press, on the other hand, is one of the main ones. But what if you don't have access to a machine? Well, no worries, because we've got you covered in the video here. Oh, and the 6th exercise in there is perfect if you have issues with your lower back or knees when you squat.